Hey, I'm Randy Younger, New York City's go-to film enthusiast. Every week I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is a special episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And this is our special Kevin Baconator episode. And I have with me tonight Mr. Tyler Michael. Welcome back, Tyler.
Thank you, Randy. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. Thank you. And Ernest Salick. Welcome back, Ernest.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, anytime. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking the time tonight. This is awesome.
Most definitely.
And we're going to be retro reviewing two Kevin Bacon movies tonight. Two movies that are actually both have a very special anniversary this year. So basically, we've got Tremors from 1990 celebrating its 35th anniversary. And we're going to review that and couple that with the 2000 film Hollow Man, also starring Bacon. And that one is celebrating its 25th anniversary.
Oof, where's the time go?
I know, and I remember seeing it in theaters like it was like last week.
Shoot.
But yeah, quality films all around. They're both Bacon films, which is great, and they're both horror slash thriller, almost comedies. So, well, definitely one of them is a comedy. But yeah, both films are so much fun, and I remember seeing the first one, Tremors, back in the early 90s as a young kid. Saw it on TV
Same here.
back in the day, probably like early mid 90s, kind of your typical Channel 11 afternoon on a Sunday movie.
Mhm.
And I think it's great. I think it really holds up. It's basically a horror comedy about a group of people in a small town in Perfection, Nevada, who randomly come across these giant worm-like monsters that are burrowing under the ground and killing the citizens of this small town one by one. Then we get Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, who play two goofy, heroic handymen who basically are basically tasked with finding and hunting and killing these monsters before they can do more damage. And I think it's just a fun movie all the way through. I think Bacon's perfect in it. He was at the top of his game in this. It's 1990, so he is a legitimate movie star. The creature design is wonderful, I must say. I believe Tom Woodruff Jr. Was one of the team members who brought these monsters to life. And yeah, it's just really you're following this small group of people who are trying to survive. Oh, also I wanted to mention Michael Gross, who the father from Family Ties plays like this
Yeah.
survivalist who has an enormous arsenal in his bunker basement,
Yep.
and he's married to Reba McEntire's character, and they're just hilarious. Also, I want to mention a pre-Jurassic Park appearance from Ariana Richards. She was the little girl,
Oh,
Ellie. Was it Ellie? Lexi from Jurassic Park. So this is before that. And for some reason, her agents like to put her in movies about giant monsters terrorizing people. So there you go.
yeah.
She's typecast. But I love this movie. I'm so glad we're retro reviewing it. And yeah, it's just a fun one, really, all the way through.
Yeah.
So Tyler, I know you're a horror guy. What were your thoughts on Tremors?
Well, this is one of those horror films that I wished I saw earlier in my life, honestly. Like when I first heard about it, I saw it on my Jaws DVD,
Okay.
and I was thinking to myself as a kid, wow, this looks amazing. This is pretty much Jaws in the desert.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And well, after finally seeing the movie after so many years, because I was interested, but I wasn't like, it wasn't on the top of my list. So finally
Okay.
being able to see it,
Right.
it did everything I was expecting it to do. It has great build up.
Mhm.
It has great tension.
Right.
It has some really good action in it.
Yeah.
It has highly likable characters
Right.
who are also very fun to watch. Like I feel like if Kevin Bacon and Frank Ward, is that his name?
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward,
Yep.
excuse me. I feel like if they were in another movie, they would be wonderful as
Right.
as a comic duo,
Right,
or
right.
just trying to survive in
Almost like a Laurel and
desert
Hardy.
town.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like meet the graboid.
exactly.
Right. That's fine.
And honestly, the effects. I was worried how these effects would age. Like I always
Right.
look at a film and respect them for what they are for their time,
Right.
but even outside of their time, they're still tremendous to look at.
They
They
look
still
great.
look believable and they're
Mhm.
very inventive. They're unique. And on top of it, even though the film, in terms of character and story, is very simple,
Hmm.
it doesn't treat its audiences like idiots.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of clever details in the storytelling that's going to build up stuff for later.
Mm.
Okay.
There are a lot of subtleties to the characters that you do
Right.
appreciate
Right. Right.
that make them become more than just one-dimensional characters. Even the cast
Yeah.
are not only completely well acted, but are actually well diverse as well.
Tyler, awesome points. And I also want to mention that this movie is a throwback to the 1950s creature features, you know? It's a lot of
Absolutely.
fun.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just again, I can't praise the fun factor enough. Like it's
Mhm.
so good.
Mhm.
And you definitely raised some great points too. And yeah, but yeah, before I get into more, Ernest, what were your first impressions of this film?
Yeah, so Tremors, I gotta say, it's in my opinion, the Tremors is further proof of you take a simple concept,
Right.
such as underground creature monsters,
Right.
and you write around that concept. But if you're smart enough, and also in the way that you film the movie, it's quite effective. And that's what
Right, right.
Tremors is all about, really, to me. Tremors, whose original movie name was Land Shark.
Right. But they had an issue with that with
Yes, they did.
SNL
Yes,
because
they
in
did.
the I think the first couple seasons of SNL with Chevy
Yep.
Chase, they
Yep.
had a recurring skit, Land Sharks. Like it's a terrible title though. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm glad they went
Yeah.
with
I'm glad they
Tremors.
changed it.
I think that's for the best.
Yeah.
And if I
Sometimes
may,
less is more sometimes.
and
Yes.
if I may add, there's actually a film called Land Sharks
There
with actual horrible CGI sharks that are
wow.
swimming on land
Wow.
I am not surprised.
Is it
in
any
the earth,
good?
like the Tremors.
Is it
Yeah.
any good?
I haven't seen it, but from what I
Oh.
understand,
It's
it looks like it's every average boring CGI shark film that has a great
yeah.
concept, but doesn't go all the way
It sounds
with
like
it.
another like Sharknado, right?
Right. Great
Oh.
concept,
Oh man,
poorly executed.
Sharknado.
Oh man. But Tremors is fantastic.
Mhm.
I also wanted to mention the director Ron Underwood, who he would later on a year after this would go on to direct the first City Slickers movie, which
Oh.
also takes place in the West, which is interesting. So
Mhm.
he definitely knows his way around that type of territory, and both are very different. But both are kind of comedic, so I kind of see why they picked Underwood for City Slickers as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But there's no like crazy underground monsters in that one.
Mhm.
I also wanted to mention that Tremors has spawned sort of a in
Good
joke.
one.
Thank you.
Good
I
one.
appreciate you
Good
got it.
one.
You got
I
it.
did. I got it.
A franchise actually. So
Mhm.
there were like five sequels or six sequels plus I think two Tremors TV shows,
Oof.
which kind of extended the world of perfection and the graboids and how basically they were trying to recreate aliens. I mean,
Mhm.
let's not lie here. Let's not pretend like we're not this is not obvious. But it's yeah, the first one's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll
As
agree.
but yeah, I also wanted to talk about the second one as well, which was the first sequel and also a direct to VHS.
Ah,
Not a good one. They brought back Fred Ward, by the way, which is good.
in fact, he comes back in most of the
Does
sequels.
he do? Well, I know he was in the second one.
Yeah.
Michael Gross was in a bunch of the other
I
later.
apologize. I'm
Yeah.
mistaking him for Michael Gross.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Which was
Yeah,
good.
Michael
Which is like the
Yeah.
connective tissue, between all the Tremors projects.
Mhm.
But I think they said all they needed to say with the first one. I
Mhm.
mean, but I think that's the case with most movies that spawn sequels.
I mean, the only thing I can really add to what I think of Tremors is I also love how it merges different genres together, such as horror, comedy, action, adventure, and even a bit of neo-Western in
A
it.
little
Yeah,
bit, yeah.
yeah.
Has a good balance of all of them.
Yeah, it never feels like they're
Balances them well.
overshadowing each other. And I feel like the only criticism I really have for Tremors that I
Sure.
haven't mentioned is a part of me wish it went a little darker.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wish it got a little
Right.
edgier, a little bloodier, but at the same time, that's really a nitpick because
Yeah.
it doesn't affect the whole movie. It's still suspenseful, still entertaining. It pleases all audiences.
Yes.
And again, the tones don't overshadow one another.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
it's a tremendous movie. Wish I saw it earlier in life.
Apparently, not everyone thought so, though.
Hmm.
Even Kevin Bacon, while filming it initially, but he admits later on that it was just really what he was going through at the time of filming it.
Mhm.
He hated filming the damn movie.
Really?
Yeah, he thought it was going to hurt his career. Actually,
Really?
he did the movie because he needed the money.
Mhm.
He was expecting a new baby, and he was just getting married again. I don't know if it was his first time getting married, but he was getting married again, and
Okay.
so he did the movie kind of pretty much for the paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But over the years, in retrospect, he really likes it. He feels it deserves the cult following that it got for it.
Indeed.
You know
And
what I
I'm
mean?
glad he did it because he really makes the movie.
He really helps big time.
The chemistry between him and Ward is just undeniable.
Yeah, good
And
chemistry.
I wanted more of that in the sequel, but we did not get that, unfortunately.
Mm.
But again, it could have been a little darker. I think the tone was pretty on point. It was pretty great.
Absolutely.
It was pretty bloody in some spots.
In
Sure.
some spots.
And I know that it was almost rated R because there was a lot of potential profanity that I think was either dubbed or just removed from the final cut.
Yeah.
So this could have been a lot darker, a lot more profane.
Mhm.
But
Easily.
yeah. But I'm kind of glad that they made this more family friendly adventure.
Again, less is
Yeah.
more sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Not every horror film needs to be complicated.
Yeah.
And this film isn't boringly simplistic either.
Right.
It knows how much to entertain an audience while also challenging them and proving that we're more than just, your typical monster movie.
Yeah. And I think it's just a perfect introduction to kids to horror, actually.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
I think like this and maybe Gremlins and maybe like the Critters movies. And there's stuff, from the 80s and 90s. This was prime horror comedy.
Mhm.
And the mix of both genres just blends beautifully together. And I'm so happy that we got to review it tonight. Just
Definitely.
I would steer clear of the sequels because they are pretty much
Unfortunately.
very inane, very silly and unnecessary.
They just weren't made with the same effort
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the first one.
Yeah,
You know?
because the graboids, the characters, they're
Right.
all so original, and
Yes.
and this is the first introduction of their personalities, their camaraderie, their again chemistry, and it really works very well.
Mhm.
So I heard that Bacon was gonna come back to the series. He was gonna reprise his role
Mhm.
as Val. But I don't know how much truth there is to that. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Unless it was the 2017, it was going to be a 2017 limited TV series.
Okay,
But it
okay.
never took off, unfortunately. But he was going to come back for that. That's what the rumors suggest.
You know what? I could even see like a remake, like a Tremors remake made today, or because this is the 35th anniversary. Maybe they'll do something for the 40th.
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
But to bring back Bacon would be amazing. It could go either like really well or really horribly wrong,
Mhm.
like most.
I'm guessing the later.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning towards that too.
Yeah.
But we'll see with the future of the Tremors franchise.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Well, that's funny you mentioned the future of the Tremors franchise because at the time, it had a modest budget,
Right.
$10 million apparently, from what I was able to find out.
Cool.
And it made its budget back, but it didn't meet projections. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But what really motivated and spawned the sequels going forward was home rentals.
Interesting.
It was a hit on home rentals.
And it
That's
become a
true.
cult favorite, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Plus the poster's fantastic. It harkens back to Jaws. Again, the creature features.
Oh, yes, definitely Jaws.
But that's basically
Yeah, definitely
Jaws in the desert, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of fun. And even now that I'm looking, I've noticed that the creature is different in the poster than it is in the actual film.
Yeah.
Because what they have here is more of like an underground dinosaur with two sets of jaws.
Mhm.
The actual graboid is more of just like this worm with like these long snake-like
Yeah.
creatures.
Doesn't have many teeth.
No, it just has those I guess you call them mandibles. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then he's got the snakes that grab people into his mouth.
Yeah, a bit of false advertising there.
Yeah, a little
Just
bit, but
you know?
it still
Well,
works.
they wanted to keep it a surprise too.
True, but I think they could have been done a little bit better on the poster to hide that mystery.
Of course.
But I still love the poster. I love the film, and yeah, it's a good one.
I agree.
So, guys, if you haven't seen Tremors, please do so. It is available to rent on Amazon Prime Video.
Mhm.
And if you want to just keep going with that, check out the sequels and the TV shows and all that as well. I don't even know if they have a comic book series, but I would think they might.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's possible.
They've
Very
action
possible.
figures,
Oh, sure.
spin-offs as we know.
Yeah.
Forget it.
But it all started in 1990. So there you go,
Yeah.
Tremors, guys.
Tremors.
So we're gonna fast forward 10 years to 2000,
Oof.
and by this point, between 1990 and 2000, Kevin Bacon's a household name. He's a legitimate movie star. He's doing extremely well, and his next movie here in 2000 is the horror sci-fi Hollow Man, which is directed by the great Dutch filmmaker Paul Verhoeven.
Mhm.
Notably for great films like RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Showgirls to a lesser extent, and I mean this film, it's interesting because it plays like a typical, by the numbers thriller. There's really not a lot of new ground being covered here. It does follow Sebastian Cain, played by Bacon. He's a mad scientist of sorts who figures out a way to turn invisible. And he basically becomes the first human test subject and turns himself invisible. And in doing so, becomes a psychotic monster and starts killing all of his colleagues. And
Don't you hate it when that happens?
yeah,
You just hate it.
I know it's horrible, but it's a real by the numbers thriller. It's handled fairly routine, but I think Bacon adds a touch of class to the proceedings, and the special effects, which were nominated for an Oscar, are really top notch.
I agree.
However, they did lose to Gladiator
Somehow.
Yeah, so
Somehow.
the scene where Sebastian turns invisible, it's like a gradual process where you see his organs removed, his skeleton removed, everything, his skin, flesh, and it looks so good. Like I rewatched it the other night. It holds up. It looks fantastic. And that is the movie's saving grace. Also, the late great Jerry Goldsmith, rest in peace. He scored the film, and it's a fantastic score as well.
Complements the movie very well.
It really does.
100%.
Yeah, and he's worked with Verhoeven on Total Recall and Basic Instinct as well. So you know what you're getting going into this movie. So yeah, Hollow Man from 2000. I'm a fan. Ernest, how about you take the lead here?
Yeah, I'm gonna say while I do feel Tremors is a bit stronger of an effort, I think Tremors, in my personal opinion, is a 7.5. I think Hollow Man is still a solid movie. I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay, I like it.
In fact, when it was first released, people weren't very receptive to it. People didn't really like it as much. And the director himself, that you mentioned earlier,
Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah, he went back to doing mostly European movies because of it.
That's
apparently.
right. That's
He
right.
was a little discouraged.
Yeah, he did not like the final product.
Yeah.
He felt like he kind of lost his edge or something.
He apologized for the movie.
Oh, did he?
He really did.
At one point, which I think was it was needless because
it was needless. I agree, it was needless.
Yeah, today people feel a lot better about the Hollow Man movie. They've warmed up to it and they see that back then, because I guess there was just an abundance of great movies.
Yeah,
they judged it too harshly, as we tend to do sometimes.
It's not a bad film. It's just it's just kind of average in some parts.
Yes, I agree. And it's all about being invisible, Hollow Man.
Right.
But all right, so at some points of the movie, the later half, it was almost Invincible Man.
Right.
The things that they were doing to him, and yet he was still alive
afterward.
Was
an unstoppable killing. He was basically Jason
Bourne.
No sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
In my opinion, that's when the movie trips up a bit. My suspension of disbelief.
Can only go so far. It's still entertaining. I'm not going to deny it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to question. How did he survive this?
Plus, while he's running around this underground facility, he's naked the whole time.
True.
And he's getting banged up. Like that's not very realistic, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, it's a film about a person being invisible. How realistic can you really
That's a good point. Hey, Tyler, you hit it on the nose, good sir. But what were your impressions of this?
Well,
I think this is your first time seeing it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This is another first time viewing.
Okay.
And honestly, I have to be real. I did not think the film was as solid as you guys have built it up to be.
Okay.
Not to say that I think it's bad.
Okay.
I don't think. Okay. When the film started out, I was not too impressed by it.
Okay.
I thought the effects, even for the time, when we saw the apes' organs, when we saw Kevin Bacon's organs, I thought it looked very cartoony, even for 90 standards, 2000 standards, excuse me.
Really?
Even for the time of it. And even, in looking at nowadays, it's definitely aged. Now, I do understand there was a lot of hard work that went into these effects. As a matter of fact, Kevin Bacon himself only wanted to do this movie because he thought, well, I'm going to be invisible, so I don't have to do a whole lot of acting.
Right.
But he had to wear the suits. He had to wear, black latex, if I'm not mistaken.
Would you consider, is that considered motion capture? I'm not sure the technology, the right terminology for that visual effect.
I can't say if it's motion capture 100%, but he did scan his whole body for the whole body horror scene.
That's right.
But getting back to what I thought when going in, and I also thought the acting was pretty nonchalant. I mean, your ape gets out for the 7th time, and you're not even worried. You're just like, You're not even talking about you should have better security,
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
especially your invisible aid.
they have one security guard on the ground level, and
Mhm.
what can he do? He can't do much in
Right.
that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, sorry.
But as he gets invisible,
Right.
that's where the effects get better. That's where the acting gets a little stronger. Like Kevin Bacon's already entertaining throughout, in the first half.
Right, right, right.
He's like this. You don't like him, but he's an entertaining jerk. And I
Sure.
just love as the film progresses, he becomes more and more maniacal.
Yeah.
And he's entertaining maniacal just as Claude Rains is in the original.
Oh yeah.
I even love the plaster latex mask they put on him,
Oh yeah. The
which I thought was
that pink
something that
yeah.
the 2020 Invisible Man remake, which by the way I think is a stronger film
Oh.
compared to Hollow Man.
It is. I'll give you
I
that.
will admit it wasn't the look of the Invisible Man, that film wasn't nearly as iconic as Hollow Man or even the original.
Fair.
And honestly, yes, the biggest problem, not the only problem, but the biggest problem for me with the film is I don't feel like it has a good judge of tone. Like it's either going for psychological horror or exploitation horror, and it's not trying to go full on out with either or.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen the director's previous works aside from Showgirls,
Wow.
which I saw in a college class, but we didn't finish it.
Wow.
It's for trash cinema class,
That's
so
funny.
it's kind of unique. But when watching this and even looking at the director's apology, when looking at the imagery in RoboCop or Total Recall, I can tell this director has a certain touch. And when watching this film, I feel like his handprints aren't as all over the movie compared to his others, at least visual wise. Because this looks like to me a generic film from the Sci-Fi Channel on a bigger budget.
Well, he definitely has a lot of erotic thriller moments under his belt. Like I think most notably Basic Instinct, and even in this there is a breast shot. Of Kevin Bacon being invisible, kind of fondling her. There's also a rape scene that I think was cut out, where he goes out into the streets and
they did cut out a rape scene, but they kept the one in the film. But it's like you don't see a lot the
you
get the implication.
It's an innuendo,
right?
You get it.
But yeah, I think I agree with you on the judge of tone. This film doesn't really know where it wants to go. The last act is basically a horror thriller.
Yeah, which
actiony.
It becomes interesting, but then when the action really kicks in, I mean, I think Elizabeth Shue really comes in full circle as a character. Like I feel like she earns her,
I wanted more from her. I
didn't
think she did gave a very strong performance. It was kind of cookie cutter.
I thought her performance was actually fine in all honesty, but I feel like at the ending, I feel like she becomes, this like character that's trying to stand up but doesn't want to.
Yeah.
She shows all of her science skills in the climax. Honestly,
I think
it could have been better developed. I'm not gonna lie.
She did the best she could with what she got.
Yeah, exactly.
Material. You did the best with the material.
Exactly.
And I could say the same. Sorry.
No,
I could say the same for Josh Brolin, who's kind of like this, also a cookie cutter good guy.
There we'll agree. We'll agree for Josh Brolin's character.
Yeah, that could have been done by anybody
character
else.
Didn't really interest me that much.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Ernest, final thoughts on Halloween?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. It kind of stumbles and loses its way in the later half of the movie, especially when they make him Invincible Man instead of Invisible Man.
Right.
I overall though, I will say I do feel it's a solid film. There's a lot going for it, although it has a few misgivings. I do agree with Tyler about Kevin Bacon becoming really unhinged and maniacal at the end, and apparently that's by design because previously they wanted Edward Norton or Guy Pearce for the lead role, but they settled on Kevin Bacon because they thought that he had a certain duality to him where he can be charming and crazy. And we see a bit of that in the movie. In the beginning, we see he's charming, has previous relations with the some of the other characters.
I think Guy Pearce would have been fantastic here.
Looking back now, sure.
Right.
But rose lens glasses.
Yes.
What I mean?
But yeah, he did Memento at the same year, but
he did.
Yeah, but that would I think Bacon did a strong job here.
Yeah, he did.
And
absolutely.
Guy Pearce, Edward Norton, and Robert Downey Jr. were considered for the role.
Oh, okay.
That would have been cool.
Robert.
I could definitely see Robert in
that. He's got that charismatic kind of almost obnoxious personality. Perfect for Sebastian. So, all right, and also, yeah, the Oscar nominee, it lost to Gladiator, which is
I
unfortunate.
just don't get how it lost to Gladiator. The
Yeah,
special effects department, not movie wise,
right.
but special effects when that's
And it just didn't do too well.
unfortunate.
Paul Verhoeven, he's done much better work here,
He has.
but I enjoyed it. I thought it. I think it
Still a
had,
solid movie. I give it a 7.
It's,
yeah,
for horror fans,
yeah,
this is actually not a bad movie.
Right.
Is it as good as compared to, well, the other film we reviewed, Tremors? No.
No.
Is it as good as the other Invisible Man movies?
Right.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely one of the ones I would recommend nonetheless.
Plus, I wanted to mention, and I keep mentioning this movie, and these fine gentlemen are going to be watching. We're going to do a home screening after this, actually, of Memoirs of Invisible Man, the 1992 John Carpenter action sci-fi comedy with Chevy Chase as
Of
the
all
Invisible
people.
Man. Yeah,
Of all
who accidentally gets turned invisible and is trying to survive the streets of San Francisco. He's being hunted by a rogue CIA agent played by Sam Neill. And along the way, Chevy Chase meets up with Daryl Hannah, and they basically go on this crazy adventure together. And the special effects, again, obviously are very good there. 1992, they implemented Industrial Light and Magic, so that was wonderful. And it's not a great movie, but it's a fun one. And if you want to check it out, guys, watching and listening, check it out on Prime Video. So, gentlemen, we have just a couple minutes. I want to see if there's any plugs, anything going on. Tyler, it's been a while. Anything you want to plug tonight?
Well, I don't have any particular plugs at the moment.
Okay.
Again, but you can go on my blog, Tyler the Movie Maniac.
Okay.
You can also follow me on Facebook to see mini reviews from me,
Nice.
which is also Tyler the Movie Maniac. But if you want the detailed analysis of a film, you want lists, definitely go to my blog, Tyler the Movie Maniac, once again.
I'm sensing a common theme here. The movie maniac. I like that. It's very good. Very good. Mr. Salick, anything you want to plug?
No plugs for today except the 4K player we will be plugging in later. That's pretty much it.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to start things off with Terminator in 4K.
That's right.
So very excited to see the transfer on that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. So as for me, you can check out Under the Radar on Slam Radio through SiriusXM every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and also again on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Also, the video version of Under the Radar can be seen on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And as always, feel free to subscribe to the Under the Radar YouTube channel. So subscribe and share the love. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for tonight. This was awesome.
Definitely.
And I hope to see you again real soon.
I would love that very much.
Yeah, anytime.
definitely.
You guys are always invited. So, this was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. All right, I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending, interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.